recording. So SumPairs says write a method that takes an integer array, so an array, and a desired sum, so a single integer, and the output will be pairs of numbers from the inputted integer array that equal the desired sum. If there are no pairs that work, return unable to find pairs. So here's the sample output. It looks like 4 and 5, so it's going to be a nested array, array, cool. And otherwise, it's going to return a string called unable to find pairs. So the first thing I can do is fork it over, looks like I already forked it. So Tompreet, SumPairs, forked it over from Lima Platoon. The first thing I'm going to do is git clone it down to my machine. So I'm going to open up a new terminal, or new window, new terminal. And first I have to figure out where do I actually want to clone it. I'm going to cd to desktop, Lima challenges. Oh. So cd desktop and Lima challenges. This is where I want to clone it down to. So I'm in Lima challenges. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to zoom in, just make it a little more readable. Then I need to git clone SumPairs. Click enter. Great. I've cloned it down. I can list it here. I've got 99 bottles, Armstrong, Def Grandma, Git Practice, and SumPairs. So now I need to open this. I want to open this entire, actually I'm going to cd into SumPairs. So now I'm in the SumPairs directory, and I am going to open this SumPairs directory in the current directory, or in the current window in VS Code. So I'm going to code -r space period, enter. It's going to reopen VS Code with SumPairs up here, the JavaScript version and the Python version.
Just a lesson learned for folks. When we were sharing terminals yesterday, and every time you do code R, it kicks the other person out. So navigate where you want to get before you live share.
Gotcha. Cool. So when you share a terminal, or so when you're in VS Code, oh yeah, because it relaunches VS Code.
Right.
So it just closes. Okay. Cool. So I will do JavaScript for this one. So JavaScript, SumPairs spec file. Oh, hold on a second. Lima Platoon. Let me open up SumPairs. It's cool. I'm going to close some windows on my other screen. Cool. All right. So SumPairs have the function here of SumPairs spec JS. Clear. I've got my JavaScript directory, my Python directory. I'm going to cd into JS. Now I'm ls, list everything out. SumPairs spec. So I'm going to do TDD. So we're going to be using jest. So I'm going to come down here, click on the jest, go through this get starting tutorial. Step 1, first thing I need to do is create a package.json file. And in order to create a package.json file, what's the command that I need to run to create a package.json file?
npm init.
npm init. npm init. And it's going to go through a bunch of questionnaires. This utility will walk through creating a package.json file. Only covers the most common items and tries to guess sensible defaults. Great. So package name, JS, I'm going to call it SumPairs. Again, so if I click enter, it's going to give me an error because, sorry, name can no longer contain capital letters. So I'll just do sum_pairs. version 1. I'm just going to click enter. All the defaults. It's fine. Author. Is this okay? Default is yes. If I just click enter, I'm going to click enter again. So if I look over here, I've got my JavaScript directory with package.json. Great. I'm going to clear it down here in the current terminal. I'm going to clear it. Yes.
You named it. You did the thing with the SumPairs and you couldn't use the cap, but the name seems to be package.json.
Oh, correct. Yeah. So this is where it's being named.
Okay. It's not the file name.
Yeah, the file name is not being named.
Okay.
Sorry. So I'm going to close the Explorer. I'm going to come back out here and then run this command, this npm install -- save -- dev or then space jest. And here it's going to install it. If I didn't want to install it as a dev dependency, I could literally just go -- save and not do the -dev. If I do -save, instead of it being a dev dependency that shows up here, it'll just say dependencies.
Hey, Tom, you actually don't even need -- save anymore as of like npm5.
Okay. So I don't even need the -- save. If I just do npm install jest, it will do the same thing. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Awesome.
For the save and the save dev, is something supposed? Okay, I just saw it. So the package.json is supposed to be modified because like my package.json was not modifying yesterday.
Were you installing it in the same level as where your package? Yeah. Okay, interesting.
I thought maybe it's because I had dev on, it didn't show up. I don't know.
No. Yeah, there's something odd was probably going on.
Okay.
We can walk through it offline. All right, so I've got jest installed. And the next thing I do, once I actually start writing tests, I need to install this into my script. So this test jest, I'm just copy that. I already have scripts there. I already have a test there. I just need to replace it with that. All right. And then this .sum.test.jest. So I'm just going to rename this file to .test.jest or JavaScript.
I had a question actually for the init versus the installing modules. Does it matter which order it does? Like if you did the modules first and then init later?
I don't think your package.json file would contain those. It wouldn't, if you just did npm install jest.
And then init after that?
This wouldn't show up.
You'd get an error. I tried doing that first. That's where I needed to go back last night and found out you do the npm install first, or the npm init, then you can install the jest.
Yep.
Okay,
otherwise, you get an error.
So, yep, step 1, npm init, create that package.json file. Then you npm install the desired package, so jest. And then specifically with jest, you need to change the test script to jest. So and then finally change the file to .test.js.
So just to be clear, we don't need to have the -- save - dev then? It'll do the same thing or no?
Correct. So if I even go to, so I've got these docs. This is like the jest documentation. If I go to npm jest, and I go to, here's the npm where the module resides in the npm website. It'll give me how to also install it. npm I stands for install jest. Essentially doing npm install jest. So this would work. So I'm down here in the terminal. If I do npm install jest, I close that out. This would work. Just running this would also work. Also, if I just do npm I jest would also work.
Tom, can I just clarify something really quick?
Yep.
You do still need to use the save dev flag if you want it to be a dev dependency. But if it's a regular dependency, you don't need tac save.
Correct. So yeah, thank you for saying that. So if you want it to be a dev dependency, you do need the dash or the dev in there. Oh. All right. So we got our package.json. We have our test file. We have our SumPairs. Again, my personal preference, I don't like this syntax because if I ever just want to run this file, it's going to say SumPairs is undefined. So I actually run a const equals, and then I like to do the module.exports equals SumPairs. That's just my personal preference. Then over here, I'm just going to do SumPairs because I want this to be, when I invoke this method or this function, I want it to be equal the same thing. So first things first, don't forget to add your tests. Where is it? SumPairs. So I'm going to just literally copy this, and I want to make these as my test specs. And I'm going to do another one. So the expected output of this specific input with this array and 9, the expected output should be a type array, right? So I'm going to use that one as well. So test spec 1, test output should be an array when given a valid SumPair argument. And then I can just test these, and then I can say, in addition to that, unable to find pairs, I can also just say test output should be a string when given invalid SumPair argument. So I should have 5 tests. 3 of them were essentially given to us as right here. And then I'm also just adding these other ones just to test the type of the outputted value. So I'm not quite sure. The syntax of jest, it looks like it's something like this. So I'm going to copy that in there just for reference. I'm going to actually move that to the top, comment that out, and then start writing my tests. So test, not test decoder stream, test takes in a string, expects output value to be type, is it array? Then takes an anonymous function. And then, so expect SumPairs. I'm just going to use the same. I know this is a valid input. Is it to B? So I see some errors in here already. So I'm just executing the function, but I should be doing type. Is it type of, like that? Type of SumPairs to be.
Well, it depends on if you want to use his array.
So it would be, oh, Yeah, we'll do is array because I actually want array dot is array. I like that one better. And what's this output? Is it literally?
It's a Boolean,
Oh, it would be true, right?
right?
Type array is true. So true. And then I could essentially copy this down. Expect output value of, I want to make it a little valid. I'll actually just, should be valid. I'll just, that's okay. I'm going to copy this down. Invalid. So here I can actually do type of, or to be string. Oh, I missed something.
Type of needs parentheses. It's like a function call. So you pass SumPairs as a parameter.
Okay. Thank you. See? Switching between Python and JavaScript. I forget.
Is it a capital O and O's or not? Can't remember.
Let's Google it. How to find type in JavaScript.
Yeah, I don't think it was a function call. I thought it was just type of.
So I've got Mozilla Developer Network. Oh, okay, so it looks like it is just, it's not a function. I think it's a function in Python, right? So type of, cool. So yep, you're right. Type of, we have string, Boolean number. All right, and the valid input, we want an invalid input, which is here. Cool. And then we can do some actual tests. So test, expect inputs of and 7 to equal 4, like that. And then expect.
You copied the wrong output.
Should it be?
It should be, this for 7, it's 2, 5, and 3, 4.
Oh, yep, thank you. We want it to be 9, right? Thank you. Expect SumPairs. Is it to be or is it to equal? Let's look at documentation using matchers. Just uses matchers to let you test values in different ways. This document will introduce, okay. So we have expect to be, we have to equal. That's probably what we want to do. And then you can also do like not to be or not to be. For this one, I'm going to use equal. To equal. And then it should be this array. And you can like, this is just like a normal function, like this part. So you can actually like do like let answer equals SumPairs and then expect answer. So just, you can do stuff like that. Let's do this one. SumPairs. Is that the same thing? Yep. of 7 though this time. 2b 2 and 5, 3 and 7, or 3 and 4, 7 to equal. Cool. And the very last one. Oh. See, I already forgot how to do the. So expect some pairs. And 27 to equal unable to find pairs. So I'll just do double quotes right there. To equal unable to find pairs. So we can actually run these tests. So I'm going to delete this stuff.
Hey, Tom, before you go too much farther, so I technically, I think on this array is array matches to be truthy, because I don't know what object is and JavaScript returns on a Boolean. I have no idea. It probably works, I guess, but according to the docs, to be truthy, I don't know if that's, if you
Both will work, but to be truthy is obviously built for this purpose, and it's a little bit easier to use.
All right.
Because I found the to be truthy after I used the to be true for a while, and I was like, oh.
So does this test spec meet the requirements of what it's trying to test?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can still use to be true. It'll work because I have both, because I didn't find the to be truthy until later.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I don't even know about the to be truthy. All right. So my description right here should be clear enough that I don't need comments. But if you want to add comments of like what this actually tests, it's fine. But here's fine. So I'm down here in the.
Can we talk about? I'm going to start asking more questions. Sorry.
No, yeah.
Yes. So test is a function with 2 parameters. First one's the string, basically your comment string, and the second one's an anonymous function to run the test to pass.
Correct. Right? Yep. It runs the test that. Yeah, it runs actually runs the test.
And in that anonymous function, we are passing in.
We're passing into this expect method.
Okay, that'd be a method. Gotcha.
That takes in the actual output of the value of the function you're testing.
So the first parameter in that method is what to test against your function, and the result to be true. Got it. Thank you.
So this is essentially like the answer of whatever the output of what you want to test. So I can actually do like, I'm literally outputting the answer in this expect to be true.
If I may interject something, that expect, that to be, and all those other things, those are methods of the expect function. So these are, you're passing in, like you said, you're passing in your answer or the higher order function. It's a higher order function. So you're passing a function into it, it's getting that result, and then it's passing that into the method. So to be or to equal is the method, and it's comparing those two. I don't know if that helps. It sounded better.
Yeah, that helped a bunch. Yeah, absolutely.
It just compares, this to that. So it compares this.
I start losing track of what's a function, what's a method, what's property.
Okay.
There's a lot of crap going on in there.
All right, I'm gonna clear it. And now ls, I'm in my package. Got node modules. So now I want to run this SumPairs test.js file. What's the command to run this test file?
npm test.
So npm test. There we go. We got 1 failed, 5 tests that actually failed.
Can I add something, and maybe somebody might know the difference between the two, as far as behind the scenes or something? In my research last night on it, looks like an alternative way to run the test, and my understanding is it looks for is you just run jest in the command line, and it automatically looks for files. Okay.
Is it npm jest?
Well, you can run jest if it's installed globally.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought when you, and I guess that comes in the difference of whether you installed it as dev save versus, because I think I did install it globally at one point, but yeah, if you have it installed globally, for me it's just easier to write jest instead of npm test. You know, fewer things you have to type.
Yeah. And when you get into Node and running servers, you'll be using the npm command a lot. So you'll be, when you're installing libraries and in React and everything, you'll be doing npm install and a bunch of libraries.
Did anybody notice? Because I have just installed locally, and it looks like when you do npm inet, it automatically asks you for the name of your test script. Can anybody confirm that? I thought that's what I saw, but then I screwed up and installed just in the local directory right after that, so I wiped everything out. Does anybody know?
What was the question again?
I installed just globally, right? So when I did an npm inet on this file, one of the questions that came up was, what was the name of the test script?
Yeah. When you run npm init, the default, it doesn't put anything. Like when Tom did it, he just hit entered and accepted all of the defaults. But one of the things it asks you is, it says, what is the test command that you want it to run? When you say npm test, it looks at your scripts, that object literal that's in that package.json. Yeah. So in there, it's looking at that scripts object, and then it's looking for that test command. So npm test is telling jest to run, is from my understanding. So you could just type in jest when it asks you in that init when you run it. You could type in jest and it will like populate that for you, so you don't have to come back.
Okay, gotcha. I was wondering if that was because I had it installed globally, but it doesn't sound like it. That's one of the defaults. All right, I'll figure it out. I'm gonna mangle it here in a little bit anyway.
All right, let's keep going. What time is it? All right, we're 30 minutes. We got like 15 minutes to try to get this done. All right, SumPairs. We takes in an array value and a target value as a parameter, as an argument. So target value. So this one's pretty straightforward, I think, in that you can kind of like not brute force it, but where is it? SumPairs. So what's one way we can do this? Like like
You could do a nested loop.
Like a nested for loop.
And then just, sum the pairs, compare.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that. So let's do quick pseudocode, write a function that takes in 2 arguments. One's one array, and one the sum value that you're looking for. So we're going to write declare a sum variable where we're going to actually keep track of the sum. We can assign it initial value is 0. Then we can also declare an answer array variable that's an empty array / list. Then we can loop through starting at first index and then do another for loop that loops through it. And if it finds whatever you're on index 1 or index 0, goes to index 1, checks the sum. If it's the sum equals this answer array, then it takes those two values and throws it, pushes it into, checks the sum. And then if it equals, the sum value, then it'll throw those two values in the answer array and then just keeps moving on. So write for loop that iterates through array, and then we can also do write another for loop that iterates through the array. How do we, this might run into issues of, so when it's iterating through, so when it moves this, when this first for loop moves to the second index, we don't want to go back to the, in the second for loop, we don't want to go back.
It's the main index plus 1.
Okay. So array where initial index is, the first for loops index plus 1. That makes sense. Okay, and then we can assign the sum variable to, I would say add both values at those indexes and assign it to the variable sum. And then we can do compare sum variable to the sum value if they equal, then push those values, those two index values into an array, and then push that array into the answer array. This might be able to be done in one step, though. We'll see when we get there. And then, so once we get that, we can return the answer. Well, first it says, if we return the answer array and it's empty, that's not what we want. So we can also do write an if statement, if answer array has a value, return the answer array. This is where I go else, return that string what's the string? Unable to find pairs. So let's go through. Write a function that takes in one argument or two arguments, one which is an array of integers, and then one is a single integer of like the target sum. We're declaring a sum variable with initial value of 0, declaring an answer array variable. That's an empty array / list initially. And we do one for loop, and we do another one, and then we compare those values at those indexes. We take if those sum of those two values equal the sum value, we push that into an array, and then we take that array of those two values and push that into an answer array. Then if the answer array has a value, which means, I don't want to say if it has a value. Well, we'll see when we get there. Because the initial value of this answer array is just an empty list. So it actually does have a value, but it doesn't have a length.
Would it be considered as undefined as far as like if you were to?
I don't know if it. Yeah, I actually don't know. We can test that when we go through it. We can test that. Also returns unable to find pairs. So let's do this. Write a function. We have array, then I'll do target sum. Let sum equals 0. Let answer array equal an empty list. And for let I equals 0, 0. I is less than array dot length and I plus plus. Then it says write another for loop. This is where it kind of might get a little tricky. This is where it goes let j equals I plus 1, and then j is still less than array.length, then j plus plus. So we want to do this because we're starting at index 0, but the first thing we want to actually compare is that first index, the value at index 1. So it's like I plus 1. And then when it loops through, I goes to index 1. So j should be looking at indexed 2. All right. And then we can, let's say, add both values of those indexes and assign it to the variable sum. Sum equals array at I plus array at j. All right, and then we can do a compare if statement if sum equals target sum. We can compare some. If they equal, then push those two index values into an array. So we can declare another array so compare the sums, add those values to an array, and then push that array into an answer array. So let's just go answer array dot push, and I'm going to create an array of array at index I, an array at index j. So I'm pushing in an array of those values into this array, this answer array. All right. It goes through and right here, and then after it loops through that for loop, I'm going to do if answer. So if I just do like if answer array, that means like if that answer array exists, return answer array. Else, return unable to find. This might not work. I'm going to actually just keep with good syntax. I'm going to continue doing that. Else return. All right.
Hey, Tom,
Yep.
I don't know. I was going to mention something for line 23. I don't know if you're doing it on purpose though, or maybe I'll just wait for you to do it first. I'll just wait till you do it first.
Cool. Yep. Let's see. Let's see what this answer array is. So I'm going to clear it. I'm going to run my npm test. Oh, one passed. So where do we go? All right. To be an array. All right. Let's see what I like to do when I run these tests, because I'm going to comment them out. I'm going to comment out each one and tackle each one at a time. So comment that out. I'm going to clear down here at the bottom.
One of your tests has some underscore pairs, which is Python reference, and this is JavaScript.
Actually, all of them except for the very first one have that underscore reference.
Oh, thank you. Yep. So some pairs like that. Awesome. So let's actually, good catch. I'd probably beat my head against that for hours.
And Tom, I just read about something. I don't know how well it'll work. Apparently, if you add -b, that's kind of like the npm jest version of fail fast, where it'll stop the test as soon as one fails.
Awesome. Cool. I'll try that. So it's npm test -b.
I think so. Try that.
Right, let's try that. Just. Oh. That didn't fit. Did it? Looks like that didn't work. That -b.
All right.
I know there is a fail fast. I remember from last cohort we were doing it. So it looks like, so expected output value to be an array. So invalid input, let's look at what it looks like. So it looks like we expected a string, but we got an object. So it looks like it's still outputting the array. And it still looks, when we should be unable to find pairs, it still looks like it's returning that empty array. So it still looks like it's returning this answer array. So this if answer array, despite it being an empty list, it returns true. So it's returning this. So this is always going to return true, and it's always going to come into here. So no matter what it is, it's always coming here and returning this when it shouldn't be. So I'm going to do if return answer array has a length. So if let's do length is greater than 0, because right now this length is 0. If I do array.length is greater than 0, return answer array. And let's see if we can let's see if that -b works. All right, all 5 passed. And I can even get rid of this greater than 0. Let's see if this works. Oh, still passed. Why is this passing? So I can do, oh shoot, greater than 0. So if the answer array, oh man, length is greater than 0, and if answer array length, if it has a length, it returns here. But right now, if it doesn't have a length, why does this still work? Why isn't it coming in here? Even though like the length is 0, why isn't it returning true when it has a length of 0?
Because if conditions are always evaluate to Boolean, so answer.length, a non-zero value, will evaluate to truthy or true, and a 0 will evaluate to false.
Awesome. So if this is a 0 is a falsy, and anything other than a 0 defaults to falsy. So if the length has 0, this value is 0. If defaults to length or defaults to a falsy, so it bypasses this block of code and goes into this else statement.
Is it common for people to not include the greater than 0, or is it good practice to go ahead and include it?
I think it doesn't necessarily, I don't know, like I've seen it done both at my job, my past job, but I think most people understand that, hey, if it has a length, I think most people would understand that, like, what this is saying. Yeah. But when in doubt, the more readable the code, like the better for the developer.
One thing to keep in mind is different coding languages have different expectations of what's truthy and falsy. So you may code with a coding language where 0 evaluates to true.
Yep. Awesome point. Yeah. So, crap. All right.
I think you maybe sort of answered it. Like in looking at some of the forums yesterday when I was Googling things, that there were kind of arguments between people of, well, using length as a test is a bastardization, and there are functions like to do that. And what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Everyone has opinions, and especially developers and programmers are very opinionated. Just do what you think is best, like as far as what works best for you. No one's going to be like, oh, what the heck? Like if you get somebody to says like, this is an abomination and has that kind of visceral reaction to that, like that's kind of absurd in my opinion. But this works. Does anybody else have any opinions on?
Well, it's an acceptable practice. It's not.
Yes.
You're not going to get blamed for it.
Right. Yeah. No.
Hey, Tom, I'm running my first test. So module.exports equals SumPairs. That has got to be in there.
Yeah. So if I excluded this, and
probably test not found, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So it's going to come up here.
Yeah, as far as that file is concerned, that function does not exist.
So he says type error. SumPairs is not a function, so I'm going to come up here.
All right, I got a deeper issue then, because I'm getting I'll need help after this. I'm getting no test found exiting with code 1, so something's not right.
Okay. Yeah, we can take a look at it offline during the break. So with that, I'm going to clear it. Now I'm going to push this up to my GitHub. So I need to first, the first thing I want to do is add, so I only want to add the SumPairs and the SumPairs test. So there's a couple. I can include a git ignore file, or I can just individually add these. But I'm going to include a git ignore file. So I'm going to do touch.git ignore. And I can come in here. And the things I want to, not node modules. In here, I just want to exclude node modules. And so when I do git status, I'm going to clear the screen. If I do git status, I could say modified. So SumPairs have been modified. This one has been deleted. Essentially made a new file called .test.js. I'm including this git ignore file, package.json. And notice how node modules is grayed out because I've added it to the git ignore file, so that lets me know that I'm not going to be adding that up to GitHub. So I need to add a new version of this code by doing git add space git status. So I'm adding all these files and modified files. And so I've added it to a staging area. I'm not even pushing it up to GitHub. It's not even, GitHub has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. I'm just creating a new version, a new save point with my code base. I can get commit message, instructor solution. So I'm adding a commit message, and now I'm going to actually click that save button and actually create a save point. Great, created a save point. I can clear, get status, says nothing to commit, working on a tree, working tree clean, so I haven't made any changes. I can get log. I can see all the previous commits. Here's my instructor solution. I can exit it. Now I can actually push it up to GitHub. So I can actually push it up to my personal GitHub now by doing git push origin master. There we go. So now if I refresh it, got SumPairs updated 44 seconds ago. Great. Now, if I wanted to, I'm going to do this real quick in Python. Because I want to include both versions. So I've got SumPairs.js. I'm going to back out, cd. Here's my Python. So I actually want to create a new branch first. So git checkout -b. Should it be Python version? I'll just do Python solution. Switch to a new branch, Python solution. If I do git branch, so first you see I'm a master, now on the Python solution branch. If I do git branch, here's my Python master and Python solution branch. So I'm going to close out JavaScript, and I'm going to open up SumPairs spec and SumPairs py file. Got my SumPairs py file on the right-hand side and my spec file on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to copy and paste the Python solution in there. It's literally done the same way. Then I'm going to also copy and paste a couple of unit tests, actually just one unit test for now.
Git branch command, is that just to list the branches, or
Yep.
did that do something?
It literally just listed the branches.
Okay. Thanks.
So I'm going to clear ls. So I'm going to do git status. So I've modified my Python files. So I want to do a save point for my code. I'm not doing anything with GitHub yet. So I just on my local machine in this directory, I want to create a save point. I can git add everything. I'm going to git status. So now everything's in the staging area. It's in the staging area. It's not saved yet. It's just waiting to be saved. So these are the two things I've modified. Now I can do git commit m Python solution period. Now I can get status. So it says 2 files changed, 21 insertions, 1 deletion. I'm going to do git status. See on branch Python solution, nothing to commit, working tree clean because I've already saved it. Let's clear it. Now list it out. Now I can actually push this branch up to GitHub, or I can merge this branch into the master on my local machine and then push it to GitHub. It's best to just do all the merges locally and then push to GitHub for the instructor's sake, because then we have to go through all your different branches to look at the different solutions. But actually, I'm going to push this branch up to GitHub first. So I'm going to git status. So I'm going to git push origin, and previously we just do git push origin master, but we want to push this up to this specific branch. So Python solution. I'll click enter. It's pushing it up. It's great. Come on, Bram. A new branch, Python solution. Now let's go to my GitHub and see what that looks like. So I've got 10 commits. There's one branch currently. And then look at it. It says you recently pushed branches, Python solution, less than a minute ago. So if I refresh it. So I've got my Python solution branch, and I can compare and pull request. See what this does. This is where it gets kind of tricky. So I don't want to, so I'm opening a new pull request. I don't want to pull this branch into the Lima Platoon SumPairs. I want to pull it, can I just pull it in the Tom Preet SumPairs master. So I can compare, I can merge my Python solution branch into my master branch. And I can say instructor Python instructor solution. Create pull request. So this is just on my local, this is on my GitHub. It has nothing to do with Lima's GitHub yet. So with you can actually merge this pull request. You have that capability to merge pull requests in your personal GitHub. So I'm going to merge that. It's a double opt-in. See, merge. I successfully merged the Python branch into my master branch. And now if I go to code, I can see instructor solution and Python solution right there. It's merged. But now, so I've got this Python solution.
If you went to branches, would you be able to look at your branch?
So yep.
Okay.
So I've got
And it's there forever?
Yes. Unless you delete it, but don't delete it.
But it's there even after you merge?
Yes. So I've already merged it on GitHub, and it's still there. So I can click here, and yeah. So in GitHub, on my GitHub, my Python solution branch has merged with my master branch on GitHub. But on my local machine, they're still separate. Like the code is separate. So if I go, so I'm currently on my Python solution. We'll take a break here in a couple minutes. I'm on my Python solution branch. If I do git checkout and switch back to my master, everything got wiped because in my master on my local machine didn't have the Python solution. But so now I want to update my master branch with my Python solution code. How can I do that? I'm going to clear it down here. So what I can do, I can pull what's on the master branch in GitHub down to my local machine by doing, so I'm currently on my master branch. I can do git pull, and I click enter. Boom. Here's all the Python code that I just merged up on my GitHub down to my local machine. So right here, it kind of says what happened. Python SumPairs, 13 lines of code were added and 1 line of code was deleted. And then in the SumPairs spec file, 9 lines of code were created. I can clear there. Now my local machine code is synced up to my GitHub code.
If you wanted to merge your local branch with your local master directly without pulling it down, did you do that? Did I miss that? Or
no, we could do that. I did cover that on Tuesday, but we can go over that as well. So let's say I made a change somewhere. So say I'm going to create a new branch called git checkout branch. I'm gonna call it test, or I'm gonna say, what can I do? Comments, adding comments. So I'm creating a new branch called adding comments. I'm now on the adding comments branch. I can do git branch. There's my adding comments, and say I want to add some comments to, you know, JavaScript or Python. So in here, I'm just going to say, in the SumPairs, just for instructional purposes, say like I'm adding comments here. So there's the change I made, and I want to save that on my local machine. I can git add period, git status. So I modified SumPairs by adding this, I'm adding comments here comment. So it's added to the staging area. I can git commit. So I actually want to create a save point. I added comments to Python file. So there I just created a save point. I'm going to clear the screen. Oh, clear. Now I want to switch back to, so in order to merge this branch to my master branch on my local machine without pulling it from GitHub, I can switch back to my master branch, git checkout master, and there that comment is no longer there because my master branch didn't have that comment. Now I can actually merge the adding comments branch to my master branch by just running git merge adding comments. So whatever branch I'm on, I want to merge whatever code is on this other branch into my master. So I want to merge the new code that's on adding comments branch into my master branch. And now I can click enter. One file changed, one insertion. I'm on my master branch still, and here's that comments. Now from here, I can get push origin master. So I can push this code up to GitHub. Oop. Now I can refresh. And there's the added comments to Python. There's still only 2 branches because I never pushed that third branch up there. It still only has those 2 other branches, or the master and the Python solution branch. Whoa, what's going on? And then my Python code that I merged locally on my local machine is right there. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.